Hello, this is Daniel Hill, and this is my assignment 10. It's the student registration. Calculates the registration cost based on a couple criteria. First things first, it's got input validation on these inputs, as well as these radio buttons, and this um, combo box. Before you can calculate the cost, it's got a clear form button. Um, I guess let me go ahead and get into it. So, I guess I'll start by putting in incorrect values here. Um, and I won't select anything there. So, first things first, if I hit calculate cost, I'll get an error because my input is not correct. Enter your student ID in the student ID box. It'll clear it and focus it. So let me put in something with the right format. Then moving on, enter your name in the student name box. It only accepts text. Put my name. Units must be between 1 and 24. My -1 isn't accepted. Let me try 25. Units must be between 1 and 24. Fine, let me try 10. And please select a major. I'll do math. And then calculate cost works. Now I can also select on campus and it'll give me some housing options here. So I can select one of these options here. Cooper is giving me 7,400, Craig's giving me 7,900, and Julian is giving me 8,500. And these all change if I increase the number of units as well. And then I've got a clear form button here that clears it all out. Now let me show you what we got on the back end. Um, Here is the form object. Got some class variables, and this is the input validation and all the different error messages. If no error, process the registration costs. So this is where it instantiates some student objects. It'll either use the regular student if off campus is checked, or the on campus student if on campus is checked, the radio boxes. And as you can see, they have a few more arguments in the on campus student constructor because of the radio boxes. And here is the off campus checked. It makes the that housing board invisible, and if you're an on campus, it makes it visible. And here's the clear button clearing out everything. First, let's get started with the student class. Student class has a student ID, student name, major, units, costs, and cost per unit is set to 450. Here's the constructor, and here's the code in the constructor that assigns the arguments in the constructor to the class variables. And here's an overrideable function. It's important that it's overrideable because the on-campus student has a method, compute cost as well, that overrides it. So compute cost, it's just a simple multiplication, but then it writes it to the student cost file, which I can show you in a minute. And it returns calculated costs. Here is the on-campus student. Well, I guess it's important that it inherits student because it inherits all these class variables, and then it also has a few unique ones of its own. It's got the Cooper, Craig, and Julian for whichever one of these they have selected as an on-campus student. Um, so here is the compute cost. It overrides it. Um, Basically, it does the same thing, but it also adds cost based on which one of the housing options they have chosen. As you can see, it just adds the housing cost to the end of the same function, and then it also writes to that student cost file. And this is the student cost file class. It has a couple class variables, student ID, student name, major, and student cost. Here is the write record. I guess here's the constructor first. Same thing as the others. It's got the arguments, and here's it assigning the arguments to the class variables. And the write record is it actually writing to the text file. So I've got the location of the file saved as a string. Object writer is a stream writer, and here's it writing the student ID and putting a comma after it. Here's it writing the student name and putting a comma after it. The major, putting a comma after it, and write line, student cost. And then it closes the file. And if there is no file here, it'll abort and exit the application. So let me see if I'm getting it to write to the file. Yeah, okay. So here are my past inputs. As you can see, it's got the different costs from my test. It's got my student ID, name, major, and cost, and then it goes to a new line every time. This is obviously pretty cool. I can see that being applicable for a lot of different things. And yeah, thanks.